Hey, I'm back, here to talk more about the player character and their interactions in Penultimate. Note that this is part 2. I covered the core stats and derivatives in part 1 and already gave a general overview on how skill checks work in the introduction video, so ideally you'd have watched both to not be confused. Quick recap though, we have 4 core stats represented by die between a d4 and a d12. These core stats govern a couple of skills each, which are represented by a pair of dice. But what are the skills? On the physical side, we have stealth and dexterity under agility, and endurance and athletics under fortitude. On the mental side, we have education, religion, and arcana under mind, and intuition, charm, and observation under presence. That isn't a lot of skills, you might be thinking, and you'd be right. It isn't. I wanted to have a fairly small number of skills, just enough to cover all the bases. However, this isn't all there is. Different weapons and magics are also treated like skills. They just wouldn't be listed on your sheet by standard, because by standard, your character doesn't just know how to use them. Furthermore, if your character has or wants to learn a specific skill set, you could fill that in as a custom skill. These would be done in agreement with your GM, but through custom skills, the options are technically endless. You could even learn specifically unicycling. The general idea is that most normal activities could be rolled for using the set skill list. If using one of the existing skills is too much of a stretch, that is where the custom skills come into play, lest the GM could have you roll with the best fitting core stat and a pair of d4 to represent your lack of skill. At this point I want to again invite you all to voice your opinions in the comments below, or ideally in the Penultimate Discord. If the list of skills doesn't seem sensible to you at all, or you think you or your group would definitely always add X skill, so it should be on the list, please tell me. That said, on to the dice check difficulty. How is it set? Difficulty answer. See, with systems that use one consistent die, even with modifiers, the range of what can be rolled is fairly straightforward. If you have a d20, your results vary from 1 to 20. If the DM wants basically a 50-50 chance, they just set the difficulty to 10. Fairly difficult would mean 15, and very difficult could be upwards of 18. Upwards of 20 or 25 if only a combination of good luck and modifiers are expected to see success. With Penultimate though, the range is bigger, going from 3 to 36. That is, if you have 3 d12s. There are 24 other dice combinations you could roll, the worst one being a 3d4 with a maximum of 12. Imagine yourself as the GM then. How do you possibly account for the sheer variety in what your players could roll or not roll? My counter question is, do you have to? Of course, you want the game to be fun, not frustrating on the players nor yourself, so let's look at a couple of options. Option 1 is you don't care. You make the difficulty up on the spot most of the time anyway, and if it happens to be possible for the players to achieve, nice. Second option is that you do care, maybe a bit too much. You actively look at your player character sheet for every check to make sure you pick the difficulty that suits your intention. The third option is that you use context. A simple overview of the dice range shows you the maximum results and averages, and your own world gives you the rest of the information. Is the lock that the player character wants to pick supposed to be a basic deterrent of thievery within a hamlet, or an intricate and mastercrafted security measure for the king's jewelry? How much would an amateur lockpick like your player struggle with it, if they would even be able to open it at all? Asking yourself these kinds of questions, possibly for every check, could be very easy or very annoying. As for me, I don't know. I could think of various arguments for any approach, but in the end, discussing it with myself in my head won't lead anywhere. Therefore, I want to open the discussion on it with you, while acknowledging that only playtesting will eventually reveal the answer. Let me know what you think. Have a good one. I will talk to you again soon.